Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I am Doc Rotten, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-host on the net, and we are going back in time to 2013 and reviewing Hannibal season 1. We just decided to hit Netflix. Let's do this. Let's do it. We used to have a thing called the Hannibal Fan Podcast back when it was out. We did season 2 and 3 and a couple of the movies, but we never did season 1. So here we are. If you want to relive Hannibal, we hope you join us for this. We're doing them roughly once a week. We're going to do the whole first season, and then based on feedback, we may revisit season 2 and season 3. But let me introduce the rest of the cast, starting off with award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, Christopher? Hannibal!
From the Fannibal.
I know. I'm trying to be better about remembering to wear my Hannibal shirts. So I've been searching through my closet and finding them. So
I'm out. Look at that background.
I know,
amazing.
my Beetlejuice.
I love it.
My new goth room that I'll be putting stuff on. So.
I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Burst a beautiful room.
I'm enjoying it. It's really
what's going to go down in your
I know. I feel like I feel like Queer Eye showed the goth version of Queer Eye showed up.
Right?
Oh, there you go. All right.
Also, JVN.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad to talk about Hannibal. This is some cool stuff happened in this episode.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Yeah, we're going to be talking about episode 7. We'll get to that here in just a second. Let's introduce podcasting rockstar international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. How you doing, Vanessa?
Hello, doing well. I am already in the Halloween spirit, in case you can't tell. My
nice.
colors. I'm ready. I'm ready for fall to be here.
It's almost here. It teased us, and then the temperature shot back up. Well,
I know.
Anyway, enough about the forecast of the weather here. Let's talk about, shall we? Let's talk about Hannibal. Which episode are we talking about? Let's look at our card. All right. It's season 1, episode 7, Sorbet. It came out May 9th, 2013, directed by James Foley. Writers are Jesse Alexander and Brian Fuller. Of course, it was created by Brian Fuller based on Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. We get Franklin returns. Dan Folger. No, I got Folger there. I misspelled it. Look at that. Yeah, I put Folger. He's coffee. Why do I do this? And then, of course, Julian Anderson is Dr. Bedelia DeMaria. Hey! This is her first appearance, and this was a blast. Remember how big of a news this was that she was joining Hannibal midway through the season? Because I think there was like a little break between 6 and 7. Do I remember that? Right? Maybe not. All right. This is the BAU is called in when a man is found in a hotel bathroom with his kidney removed, and Graham must determine whether this is the act of an organ harvester or the Chesapeake Ripper. Meanwhile, Crawford continues to be haunted by the discovery of Miriam Lass's arm. Dr. Bloom suspects that Crawford has become obsessed with catching the Ripper and is putting Graham in danger by making him chase said Ripper.
Look at the sexual tension in this picture.
Yeah, well, that's also got the little sniff there going on. But yeah, there's the bromance is brewing there. Yeah. All right. So what we do, if you're new here, is we kind of give our first impression of the episode, and then we talk about it a little bit, and then we wrap things up and give a favorite scene. You want to stick around for that because that's where it gets fun. But in the meantime, let's do this. And Vanessa. So there's a big difference for those that are here for the first time. Vanessa did not see Hannibal when it first came out. Of course, Christopher G. Moore is Fannibal Supreme and saw and was a huge fan, so much so that we had to invite him on the Hannibal Fan Podcast, and that's how he ended up joining the crew and has been with us ever since. A great addition to the Grue-Crew, long-standing, and of course, he's an award-winning filmmaker. Yeah, there's a little... mine's down here still in the box somewhere. I don't know where it is. But anyway, so let's find out. And I want to find out what Vanessa thought. Vanessa, since you hadn't seen this before, what was your first impression of episode 7? What happened here? What's going on?
Episode 7 is intense. There's a lot that happens in this episode, but I'm going to jump right into that bathroom. Opening scene in that bathroom from The Shining. That was amazing.
That is the same layout, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same colors, everything. When I saw that, I was like, no. And when they do something like that, you think, oh, you're just going to get one angle of this. They're just doing it because people will recognize it and then they're going to turn away. No, you get the whole thing and they're walking through it and they're having this whole discussion about, is this the Ripper in that bathroom? And I just, I loved that so much. That was such a cool, like, Easter egg thing. And it's not something so, like, particular that only certain people would notice it. So it's not like out of the norm that I would notice it, but it just was like a really cool nod to, you know, another horror masterpiece.
Yeah, if you're going to do a hotel room, why not make it that?
Well,
one?
about
like that.
every episode, there's an ode or homage to different horror films. So
I know, it's so cool. But yeah, there's a lot happened in this episode. We had Hannibal's amazing dinner party. We have his relationship with Franklin or whatever that is. And I think most importantly too, we have the introduction to his therapist, the person that he goes to talk to and lay his burdens upon. Our very own Scully. Miss, what is it? Du Maurier?
That sounds better than what I said.
Jillian.
I just call her Dr. Bedelia.
Yeah, Gillian Anderson. She's awesome, right? And she seems very poised to be Hannibal's counterpart. And I like that a lot. So yeah, amazing first impression of the episode is just amazing, and it goes from there.
Yeah, I would imagine that you would think this is escalated from the previous 6.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To me, they've all kind of just continued to go up.
All right, that sounds great. All right, Christopher G. Moore, I like that you said that there's multiple references to horror films throughout the series, and we're going to do a top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
it's going to be all Chris telling them to be.
Well, Brian Fuller is a huge horror fan. You know, I mean, so you're going to, and I think whenever he would do his little tweets, he'd always talk about like, that's my little homage to that. I mean, I think there's like one episode where when they go back to, what's her name? Abigail's house, and people wrote cannibal on the outside of the house. Supposedly that's a reference to Carrie. Things like that.
Oh, so, I see that now.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's things like that. You know, or visually or that kind of thing. So, you know, so there's not just Hannibal Lecter stuff or Thomas Harris stuff. There's stuff all over. So you can see a lot of his stuff, even if it's subtle or if it's not so subtle, like that bathroom. Because the first thing I was like, oh God, I feel like I just walked into The Shining.
Oh, so cool.
I don't remember this in the Thomas Harris books. But yeah. Well, an interesting fact, this episode was supposed to be episode 4.
Was it?
Yeah, wow. But they felt it was too early to delve into Hannibal being who he is. Mm-hmm. They really wanted to build to that, so that's the reason they had that. Also, the woman that he meets at the little the concert and invites her to the 8 people at the table. You know who that is, right?
Feed me, Seymour.
Seymour at Ellen Green.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
which is interesting because they're eating humans.
Yeah, no, that
and Audrey
I love her.
So
Audrey too.
I love those little cameos by people, and I think that's the cool thing about this series. You'll find there's a lot of comedians that get these small roles, whether it's Dan Fogler, or like I mostly know Dan Fogler from Fanboys, the Star Wars parody movie, but or the Heavenly Creatures Harry Potter stuff.
Mm-hmm. We got Eddie Izzard.
It has been, yeah, you have a lot of comedians that are showing up in these things. But yeah, this one's a really cool episode. I think, I don't know. I just find it humorous, but I just find it humorous that, that Hannibal Lecter has a Rolodex for recipes and a Rolodex for ingredients, which are mainly people's cards that he takes.
Yeah.
It's like,
that.
who am I going to make this smashed brain, thing from? Which, it's, I just find it to be very funny. And then he's like, in the same way that the detectives are putting these bodies on ice, he's putting body parts on ice.
Oh, no.
in his own little food morgue.
That was a beautiful sequence with the music and him putting things in the fridge like that. That was really beautiful.
I mean, you can tell, like, when we were watching this the first season, this makes you think he could be a cannibal. Seriously. I mean, you watch him like make these things and it doesn't look horrible. I mean, I guess if you saw him, if you saw him actually pulling him out and then making it, it'd be kind of gross. But he's like cutting up the liver, cutting up the heart. I mean, although it's kind of gross when he's pulling the shit out of the heart. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the veins and stuff. This is the one with the lungs, right? That you were talking about.
The lungs was the previous one, but but I think they did. I think he does make something with lungs in this one. I think because he makes all the different body parts. Because you see like all the different things, and then I think you have that funny thing where I think it's Zeller or one of the detectives is like, unless he's making human sausage or whatever, the next thing, like making, it's just like, oh.
And him from Strangers with Candy, like, or Kids in the Hall. I mean,
that's another. But yeah, you have that, and you have that wonderful concert sequence, which is reminiscent of Hannibal, the movie Hannibal. But I love that scene where we go from inside her vocal cords to out.
Yeah, that was cool.
It's a nice little precursor to the next episode, but if you haven't seen it yet, you might not know what I mean. But yeah, and I love, I love the scene where he meets, what's Dan Fogler's character? I can't remember.
Franklin.
Yeah, when he meets his friend, and you can see that him and Hannibal are sizing each other up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also you get to see Hannibal a little bit sad too, because we were talking about he goes to Dr. Bedelia, who's one of the few people that's on his level and basically knows his secret, and she's been, I guess, scapegoated into his web, even though she's retired. But when she says that he's like the what was the quote? The well-tailored, but you were wearing a very well-tailored person suit.
A person suit.
And you could sort of see that he's doing the same thing that Fogler was talking about. Like, I have friends.
You're my friend.
I've got to,
we're not friends, Hannibal.
Yeah, I'm friends with Will Graham, and then Will Graham doesn't show up, and you see him like all like puppy dog eyes. Where's Will at? Where's my friend at? So I got to go check.
You know where he is. You did that to him.
But yeah, there's
we get a tear as well when he's at the end of the concert. So
well, yeah. But then even I'm probably just going through the whole episode now.
It's hard not to.
I know. But then he goes with Will Graham after he's had his little techno dream. Where he's hanging out with Abigail with the woman on the horns. Hannibal goes with him, and then I think it's funny when they're talking about like having to track stuff, and Hannibal's like, "Oh, this,
I'm learning something.
I'm learning so much or something." Yeah, and I'm like, "Yeah, he's learning all right. He's going to use it to his advantage at some point." But yeah, it's
write it down.
But the thing is with this episode, they had to pad in like an extra arc to make it a later episode, so because they had to shoot extra stuff to make it fit. But yeah, I love this episode where we sort of like, and then we get that final look where Hannibal's helping to save that guy, and Will's like got that look like,
You knew how to do that a little bit too.
I wonder if he might be you have that sort of, I wonder if he might be the Ripper look.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's starting to, and then also, with Fogler being all stalky, he's not gonna last long.
Stalkers.
So anyway, I watching this. It's really interesting going back and watching this and noticing little things I hadn't noticed before, or just, even just looks. Like I don't even remember the Will Graham look until I watched it again this time. So those little things, and the looks with Hannibal. Because what was it? Oh, I think when he's showing Hannibal stuff, when he talks about like the Ripper thing, Hannibal gives this look like, this guy's a little bit smart. He's figuring out my shit. So anyway, yeah, I can't say enough good things as usual.
Yeah, I of course I love this. This is when the season is just picking up, and man, it is just accelerating like nuts here. We're getting all kinds of stuff, and of course they just kind of let it all out there with Hannibal. Of course, everybody knows going in. It's such iconic character and pop culture, so it's not a surprise, but it is rewarding, and I think they made the right choice to hold off for 7 episodes to do that. We certainly got enough teases that's what it was along the way. We didn't talk about Jack though, so Jack has some interesting nightmares here. One in which where when he chases down the phone ringing and he finds the arm in the morgue, right? Mm-hmm. And then next time he's in there, he turns around, it's empty, and he turns around and there's Will, all morgued up, missing an arm. Yeah. And he's, more importantly, he's missing the arm. So I think Jack is realizing to himself what others are fearing he's doing. He's starting to get that conscious there going on, and he's having nightmares about it. There's a lot going on in Jack's life.
Well, he's I think the interesting thing is like he's already having to deal with like how he can save his wife's life, mm-hmm. which I don't really play into too much. But I think part of that is also because he wasn't able to save Miriam Lass, and so mm-hmm. he wants some kind of vengeance towards that. And I think it is kind of interesting that he's always been he's definitely been doing things that are a little bit under the table per se, by pulling Will Graham into this, even though it's hurting his mindset. But now his mindset is starting to be a little bit fractured because his home life is fucked up. He's having nightmares about this Miriam Lass thing, and when he's sort of talking about like, if we find this guy, I'm not gonna let you shoot him. I'm gonna shoot him, and it's like, oh damn, Jack Crawford, who's supposed to be like this head of this agency or whatever, and he's wanting to like rain down fire and vengeance on whoever doing this, because they're really messing with his mind. And I think one of my that also plays into that thing where Will Graham was talking to Hannibal, and Hannibal is like, and he talks about how like this whole mess is like not I think embarrassing or just. Is it he asks if it's driving him mad, and he's like, yeah, and you can see a little bit of a smirk on Hannibal because he's doing that on purpose to mess with them. And so yeah, it is interesting how you have people that are affected differently. You have people like Will Graham that are because his mental state to begin with, it sort of allows him to sort of focus in on these things, and now like there's Jack Crawford's taking this other path mentally where he's seeing these day visions now. Yeah.
Now we've suspected that Hannibal has been microdosing Will.
That's
right?
what I'm thinking.
Do you think maybe when he's feeding Jack all these wonderful meals that he's sliding a little extra? Yum,
I would assume so. I mean, it's all methodical. Mm-hmm. Because I think if the main thing is. Will Graham is constantly fighting against, he's trying to put up boundaries to not allow himself to go too crazy. Mm-hmm. And drugs have always been known to sort of allow those inhibitions. to where maybe you can be the person that you want to be or whatever. And so that way he can control him more because he can get him more on his side. Because, as long as he has some level of sanity, he's not going to be he's not going to be Hannibal's best bud.
It's a way to keep himself involved too, I think, because he's a trusted therapist, psychiatrist, and if they're having issues, who are they going to go to? Him. So if he's causing them to have those issues, then it's just a cycle of them returning to him.
Well, and I think that's the great thing about this show. You get to see Hannibal beforehand when nobody really knows what he's doing, and I think Bedelia points that out. Nobody really sees him for who he is, and except for her. And so he can always be that secret guy manipulating things from afar, but he's right there in front of him the whole time, because they're telling him all these different things. They're allowing you to see stuff that you'd have to have, certain clearance to see.
Yeah.
And he just walks right in there. It's like somebody who walks right in there and could shoot you straight in the head if they wanted to. So
he does. Well, before we wrap up things, Vanessa, you mentioned at the beginning of the show with the picture of the hot and steamy, it might be a little bromance going on. Have you seen that yet, or have you been able to recognize that in the show in these 7 episodes? Is it obvious, or
between Hannibal and Will?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Definitely. In this episode alone where he's talking about Will Graham is my friend, he genuinely means that, even though he's manipulating him and he's toying with him and would take him to the brink just to see what happens, he still considers him his friend. And that's, sick and twisted and wrong in so many ways, but that's still genuine emotion from him, which is scary to think. Like, if that's your idea of friendship, please count me out.
Yeah, there's only a few people he sees as equals.
And I think Will Graham is definitely on that list.
Yeah, and Bedelia. It seems to be
definitely, absolutely Bedelia. Yeah. But no, they have this kind of symbiotic relationship at this point. Will needs Hannibal. He needs his insight. He needs his honesty. And Hannibal needs Will to kind of like be a mentor to, but also test out whatever it is he's trying to do, just the fun that he's trying to have with people.
Yeah. Maybe it's he's battling his own demons. Do I make him friend or do I make him evil like me?
Yeah. How far can I push him?
Yeah. All right. Well, here's what we do. After we talk about it, we wrap things up. We kind of give a final thought. We might let's do a score. And then, because we know it's going to be all the way around. And then, best of all, a favorite scene. This has got a lot of choices. But before we do, if you are enjoying this and you like what we're doing, either here or with the movies or with Lovecraft Country, please subscribe down below. It helps us a lot. Please do it. We are trying to reach that magic number. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. Please help us. To thumbs up, thumbs down. That helps as well. And of course, if you hit the bell and register that way, you get notified when the next one comes out. And we put out a few episodes a week. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of horror things and sometimes outside of the realm that we do. So stick with us and enjoy what we do. And of course, we love comments. Let us know down below what you think, what you saw, what are your favorite scenes. We want to hear everything. Let us know. All right. Thank you for sticking with us this long. And now we're getting into the fun part. Let's do this. Wrap up very quickly. There's one over a little bit. And then give us your score's going to be 5. Everybody can 5. And then give us your favorite scene. Vanessa, you are up first.
Yeah, definitely 5. I mean, if I would give any other episode a 5, then this would definitely be on par with that. This was a lot jam-packed into this episode. I mean, we didn't even cover the dinner party that much. The amazing dinner party that just really, if someone told you after the fact that you had eaten people, I don't think that you would be able to keep that secret if it were for that dinner party. I think you would keep that under wraps for that dinner party. No, I really enjoyed this, and we're just delving deeper and deeper into the madness of Hannibal Lecter, which is so much fun. It's a fun, crazy, just a harsh place to be. So yeah, definitely a 5. My favorite scene There are, yes, like you said, so many I could choose from, but I have to choose that opening scene. That bathroom was so cool. And then them just that whole dialogue that they had in there, and filling up that space, it was just really, along with the dead body in the tub right next to them the whole time. That was great.
It was great choice. All right, Christopher G. Moore, the Hannibal Fanable, bar none. Give us your final thoughts. Your score, favorite scene.
Well, one thing I'd like to point out, if you want to find out about a lot of the dishes that are happening on each of these episodes, that you can look at janicepoonart.blogspot.com, and every episode she goes through and sometimes has drawings and pictures of how they created the different things, such as was it tomato brains and heart tartare. And she even goes into how they made them. So if you make something that looks similar, and you can feel good about not eating human flesh, but even though it might look like it, you can look at that. So by the way, I love that the one of the last lines is where Hannibal is like, warning, none of this is vegetarian or something. Which is no shit, great. Sherlock.
We know.
So, but yeah, another great episode. I think the great part of it is we get to see a lot of the culinary stuff that Hannibal does. We get to see sort of like the continuous of the character arcs, with Jack Crawford dealing with his stuff, Will Graham getting a little bit more cray, and Hannibal being a little sneak. And then we also get Bedelia, who ends up being an interesting character in this series as it goes along. So yeah, and this sort of also ties into the upcoming episode with the Dan Fogler character that has some really cool stuff. So it makes me excited for us to get to the next one. So anyway, another great episode. I might as well just have a piece of paper that says 5 out of 5 for most of these, because there's another 5 out of 5. I think the only weak spot maybe might be the secondary organ stealer dude. But overall, it's just great. It just makes me, if you can fall in love twice with something, that's what this show is doing. As for favorite scene, let me say a favorite shot and a favorite scene. Favorite shot is the coming out for the windpipe under the audience. And then my favorite scene is just probably the culinary montage where he's flipping through. That still makes me laugh, flipping through the recipe, Rolodex, and then going through the regular Rolodex for what ingredients. It's just hilarious. I'm surprised he just doesn't even keep it in the same Rolodex.
Maybe
yeah.
What? Maybe just flip it around.
Well, probably. But yeah, I just and then that's basically what Hannibal would do before the pandemic, is to stock up his fridge with people saying he's not going to be able to see it for a long time, so he has enough food to keep him satiated.
That's so sad. Of course I love this. This is really when it's kicking in. Now, I see what you're saying about the organ donor guy, but I thought it was kind of refreshing that it wasn't actually a serial killer, because it gave it a little bit of a it wasn't so it's a serial killer, and then this one isn't. So I found that refreshing, and I like the how they thought they were on the trail of something, and how, because of how bad they want to catch this guy, that they're pretty much connecting dots that aren't even there, or making up dots, right? So there's a lot going on in this episode, and most of it is the character development, or these fun little surprises, and there are certainly grosser and more interesting and imaginative things on the horizon for us, if I recall correctly. But this is a good episode. This this really kicks into gear, and I really enjoyed it. It's a 5, of course. I think, like you said, we just might say they're all 5s at the top of the screen for the rest of the season. My favorite scene, I'm going to pick a slightly different one. I really enjoyed when Franklin stepped up to Hannibal when he was talking to Audrey, whoever character she was playing, and they and it was just so awkward, right? It was just so awkward, and it was fun to see Hannibal try to dance around how awkward it was without revealing things and not, wanting to just backslap this guy across the room. So it was interesting. It was interesting to put that into play, and then how dangerously close, in the rest of the episode, how dangerously close Hannibal is to being that with Will or with Bedelia, even more so, right? Not necessarily as creepy, creepy in a different way, but not necessarily as stalker creeper as Franklin is.
Yeah.
So
you like cheese?
Yeah.
Cheese people.
I know he doesn't like cheese. He has no idea what cheese is. All right. But he will definitely learn some cheese in the upcoming episodes, I believe. And I
think that's kind of cool that we have the dual things going on, because we have both Hannibal, who's kind of like acting like Dan Fogler's character, and then you have Jack Crawford, who's becoming like Will Graham. So you have those interesting different storylines where they're sort of like, different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, because I think the next episode's called Fromage.
And this one was Sorbet, which is, what was that? Like the dessert.
Yeah. Is fromage like cheese?
Yeah, it is cheese.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Fromage. All right, well, there you go. Another one in the books here. On to episode 8, and they are, if I recall, 13 episodes.
Sounds about right.
I think 13, 14. This is back when they used to make a lot more.
Well, they reduced episodes, after the first season too. So.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole lot of weird. But anyway, doesn't matter. All right. Thank you for listening to this. I hope you enjoyed it. Christopher and Vanessa, of course, thank you for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm always excited to go on here and talk about another Hannibal episode.
Yes, and Dave, hopefully, will be back next week. He actually threw out his back, and he's kind of laid up. He's doing okay, so it's okay. But go out on Facebook and give him a little.
Do we need to send Hannibal to his house to help him?
Make him some chicken noodle soup.
Make it fromage. Make him some fromage. All right. With that, oh my gosh, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.